for so many people, they don't realize that every moment we're with our horses, we are either building our relationship and partnership and understanding, or we're doing the opposite. And most people like are just unaware of how horses communicate and are unaware of the horse actually trying to voice their opinions, trying to voice their concerns. And most people, I would say they take it as disobedience or
Oh
take it
yeah.
as
Misbehavior.
misbehaving or they're quirky. And it's like, no, your horse is trying to tell you something. And I feel personally, if people had a very basic understanding of equine behavior and psychology, the horse world would be a very different place. There'd be
Hmm.
a lot more happier horses. There'd be a lot more happier riders and humans.
There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the Wild Mustang.
Ashley, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's great to have you here, and I'm excited to talk about your journey with horsemanship and Mustangs.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell us how you got into horses and then Mustangs, and then I'd love to also talk about some of the work you do helping others with their horses.
Cool. So how I got into horses was I think I came out of the womb screaming horse. I've been
Yeah.
obsessed with horses since I think the second I realized what they were. I didn't come from a horsey family though. So I'm the only horse crazy person in my entire family. I think I'm the black sheep of the family for sure. There's
Yeah.
no other horsey people.
Nobody else
And
has dedicated
with
their life to
every
feeding
no,
animals. Yeah.
no, no one else. Like they love it for me, but they're
Yeah.
very supportive, but it's not their thing. I didn't
Yeah.
come
Well,
from a
awesome.
ranching family or a full
Right.
family of equestrians. No, it's just
Yeah.
me.
I mean, that's awesome that you made it happen anyway.
And thank you. What wasn't easy, but I think like just obsessed with them since the moment I found out what they were. It's kind of cute. Every birthday I'd wish for a horse. Every Christmas I'd be praying for a horse. Like all of like
Yeah.
up until I think I was 8 years old, and my parents were like, "Oh, okay. She's still obsessed. It's
It's
not continuing to be a phase." And then my
not going
my mom
away.
had a really good no, like, if you have the horse bug, you have the horse bug.
Hmm.
And my mother had a really good friend who I now consider more like an aunt, and she had a horse. And while I think around 5 years old is when I went and spent time with her and her horse, and he was a Mustang, which is kinda interesting. So the first
Wow.
horse I ever really had lots of interactions with, like from age 5 to 8 years old, was a Mustang named Maverick. And he was lovely. He was a great horse to learn on. Like as a itty bitty little kid, he was very safe and very well developed and well trained to like take care of a teeny tiny child. And
Hmm.
then so I become 8 years old. He then passes away, and then my parents are like, okay, this is not just a phase. She is obsessed. That's when they started looking for horses for me. And then my first horse, Sam, he was a quarter horse, and again, he was a lovely first horse for a child, very well educated horse, took care of me, and like got it. I got into English performance, so I became more of a jumper and
Hmm.
loved all of the English performance realm and all of that. Then a horse that came into my life that was more challenging when I was older, so like my late teens, and she was the horse that was so misunderstood that she caused me to completely shift my entire approach when it comes to horses. She was everything that I said I never wanted. I said I never want a mare, I never want a gray horse, and I never want an Arabian. And she was a
Oh
great
no.
Arabian mare, and she completely changed my life though. So turns out like she wasn't the crazy Arab that everybody, said back in the day. Like a lot of people in the horse world, they think Arabs are lunatics. It's not true. Very intelligent horses.
Yeah, they're
Um,
incredible.
but everything that I was being told to do was just blowing up this horse. And it took hours to catch her, took hours to load her in a horse trailer. By the time like we were showing and jumping, and by the end of our classes, we were still winning. But by the end of our classes, like, my hands felt so raw and in pain for holding her back all the time, and her mouth would be bleeding. And it's like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, this horse hates me. I want to get out of horses. And then my mother had been diligently researching other ways to be around horses and looking for other trainers, other like teaching modalities, and that's when I wanted to give up at that point in time. But that's
Yeah.
when I don't know if you're familiar. I think I can mention their names on here, but that's when Pat and Linda Pirelli were doing big tour stops around the United States. And this was
Hmm.
back in 2014, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2013 or 2014. And I'm thinking, like, okay, what's this cowboy going to show me what to do? And she's like, let's go to this tour stop and see if they can help. And if you still want to get out of horses, we'll make that decision. So I went to the tour stop and saw Linda, who I still consider one of my mentors, jump bareback and bridleless on her warm blood and jumped over a picnic table. And I'm like, sold.
Yeah.
I
All
want to do
right.
this for
Maybe
the
I
rest
can
of my life.
learn. Yeah.
So maybe I can learn these things because there they are doing these beautiful things with horses with no lines attached at liberty, and these horses are choosing to stay with them. They're riding bareback and bridleless, and these are things that I only dreamed of. I never thought like you could actually get a horse to want to be with you so badly. Like,
Hmm.
it was powerful. It changed me seeing that. And so then I went through their home study program. That same mare who everyone thought was crazy and dangerous, flying an 800-pound kite at the end of your lead rope
Yeah.
and like spooking at everything. Everyone said this mare was insane. Well, turns out she was just very sensitive, and I just kept terrifying her all the time.
Mm.
And when I learned that I was the problem, not the horse, like, life completely changed. And that horse who was deemed crazy is I was able to do lots of great demonstrations with her. I did lots of bareback and bridleless demos with her. I did one of my coolest trailer loading demos where I was actually standing on top of the trailer and loaded her in. And
Hmm.
then she was also able to be used as a hippotherapy horse for children who have autism. So that same Arabian who was like, everyone said she was a lunatic and I should just get rid of her, was just a very sensitive, very intelligent, very, very, very scared horse. And then once I realized what was important to her, she wasn't scared anymore. And all of a sudden she was this brave, intelligent being that she always was. But I was
Yeah.
then able to bring that out of her. So that's what brought me into horsemanship. I was a Pirelli professional for 10 years, loved working for the brand, decided in 2020 that I was going to leave and do my own thing. And how a Mustang came back into my life. So the first horse ever in my life was a Mustang. And then how my current main squeeze got into my life, Romeo, was I actually wasn't even supposed to have him. I was asked by the Pirelli Foundation to participate in a big fundraiser called the Rehoming for Life Challenge. And what they were doing is, have you heard of the Road to the Horse?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a 3-day cult starting event,
Hmm.
but they wanted to do a year-long event where 10 instructors from around the country were picked to then develop these hand-picked horses that were coming out of rescue situations instead of really high dollar breeding programs. And the goal was to show that there can be amazing horses in rescue situations out of no fault of their own. And, rescue horses are not throwaway horses,
Yeah.
and be able to showcase like what a solid education and a solid foundation put into a horse, how spectacular they can be, even if they don't have the phenomenal breeding behind them. The breeding, like, it gets you a little bit, but it doesn't get you a guarantee.
Right.
There's a lot more into developing a super horse than just their breeding background. It can help for sure, but it's not the only thing. So I get called up and get told that there's this 2-year-old stud colt Mustang fresh off well, no, he wasn't fresh off the Indian reservation in he was actually rounding up, off the Tohono O'odham Indian Reservation south of Sonoyta, Arizona, with a herd of BLM Mustangs. But
Mm.
him and his mother were not branded, so they had Navajo brands, and they were rounded up. Not really sure how him and his mother got mixed in with that herd, but then they were sent off to auction. And he was only 2 weeks old during the roundup. and his mother had a perfect K on her hip, and he had the brand at less than 2 weeks old, and it got infected. And it's like anybody who brands a 2-week-old foal, like
Yeah, that's
I don't understand
wild.
that practice whatsoever. And then there's no brand registry when it comes to the Navajo Nation, so there was no way to try to figure out where this horse or this mare and her foal came from. And they
Mhm.
just went right into the auction. And the horse rescue happened to be there and purchased him and his mother when he was 2 weeks old. So then they had him for almost 2 years, and they heart was in the right place, but thought it was cute to allow a little foal to rear up and put his hooves on their shoulders.
Jeez. That's
And
adorable when
he
they're
became
little. Yeah.
it's
Not
adorable
so
when
cute when
they're
they're giant.
not when they're 1,000 pounds.
Oh, man, yeah.
And so he started to develop those behaviors, and he thought people were his plaything, essentially.
Mhm.
There wasn't a mean bone in his body, but he was a very much like
Yeah, great toys.
goofy toddler. Humans are fun, and I push them around and all of that. So anyhow, so come he's 2 years old, still a stallion. I get the phone call to ask if I want to take him on as the horse for the fundraiser, to then develop him for a year and then showcase his education and development on social media, YouTube, and all of that, to where these horses were then were to be auctioned off to pre-approved homes only, as a big fundraiser to just raise awareness for rescue horses. So I meet him, and he runs over the owner of the horse rescue that had him, and he's just super confident and super silly and pushing on everything, and he is handsome. Like, oh my goodness, like, he looks quite Iberian, because with Mustangs, we don't really know well, we know a lot of how they got here, but their breeding can range and differ
Oh,
depending
yeah.
on the area they came from, and then the history of how they got there. So he looks very Iberian, and when you see him on my pictures and videos all over social media, he's very handsome. And I think I was the first person to say no to him and set a boundary, and he was just
Mm,
like, I like
yeah.
her. And so that he was gelded, and I took on his training and development with every intention of him going to the Rehoming for a Life Challenge, which was a cool fundraiser. It was located in Texas. And with, I think, about 10 months in, so it was like 2 months before the big event, I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can let this guy go.
Mhm.
So, a little bit more background on me. I had built my career on helping horses that failed out of dressage barns, reining barns, failed out of other performance barns that were deemed untrainable, and like blown up dressage horses, blown up barrel horses, like horses that unfortunately people failed.
Mhm.
And those were the horses that I built my career on. So even my personal horses had a lot of baggage from ill handling and very, very, I would even say more traditional dressage training. And so I was used to helping the very sensitive, very emotional, very complicated horses that you had to help them like unlearn patterns of behavior that were
Right.
dangerous, or even help them unlearn unhealthy patterns of thought when it came to humans. So then when I was developing and teaching Romeo and starting him, it was so different because he was like this blank canvas. Like, other than him thinking humans were silly and
Besides
fun,
rearing on your shoulders.
yeah, besides doing all those silly things, which was a very easy fix for a young horse,
Mhm.
he was such a like, and I don't mean this as like a negative term at all, but he was so simple compared to the overly complicated emotional horses who needed so much rehab in their mind when it came to being with humans. Like, he was
Yeah.
never afraid of humans, he was never terrified of us, he never learned to push into people, like he never learned that we were scary.
Mhm.
He never experienced any of that, and his mind was so malleable, and so like he picked up on things so much faster because there was no need to dig in and help him unlearn patterns of behavior first before he could understand things.
Yeah.
So he was like the one of the easiest horses I've ever started ever. And I was just like, he's so he's all there. Like, he's all there all the time, like conscious with you all the time. He's never not there.
Mhm.
And to handle that kind of horse, I personally think, it's my personal belief that God knew that I needed a steady, chill, relaxed, type of horse for my personal horse because I was helping so many other very troubled horses all the time. So for me to then go home to a more centered guy who was not as like complicated, didn't have the damage that I had to undo. And that really, I think, saved my heart a lot when it came to being a professional horseman. And so about 2 months before the big fundraiser was happening, like, I need him. I need to keep him. So then I ended up, adopting him, and then the rest is history. So Romeo is now the superstar of our online membership program for horse lovers. He is my main demo horse. He is my everything, and we show horse lovers all over the world that you can develop beautiful partnerships with horses, and it doesn't matter what your chosen discipline is, what breed your horse is, and yeah, so that's how Romeo came into my life. It was unexpected because, I wasn't looking for another
Yeah.
horse. I had no intention of getting another horse, but after starting him and him being one of the most uncomplicated horses I've ever met was so refreshing to me
Yeah.
after helping so many horses that struggle excuse me, in the lives that humans put them in. Whereas with
Hmm.
him, he just kind of came out like, "Cool, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing together? This is kind of fun." So that was a huge, huge blessing to me. And another thing, like I said, like he's the easiest horse I've ever started. He's also the bronchiest horse I've ever started. So he
Yeah.
very much could have made a career as a bronc for sure because he enjoyed bucking. So then to help him with that, I just taught him how to jump. So then he's like, "Oh, it's a planned buck."
Yeah. Get your
So
energy out
that
another
able
way.
to
That's awesome.
that was able to change that focus of airtime to be, for good, not evil. But he has
Yeah.
been such an amazing partner to me and such a uncomplicated in all the most beautiful ways. And for me, like I put that to he only had 2 weeks out in the wild, really, and then
Hmm.
had close to 2 years of just being allowed to be a youngster, not really handled all that much
Yeah.
other than like a few little scary habits that were
Yeah.
easy to manage for a professional. Like within a day, he never tried those silly
Hmm.
things again. It was because young horses, their minds are so malleable for sure. But he has definitely been, my steady Eddie in my life with horses, and he is definitely, I think sent from God to keep me okay.
Yeah. So you can keep helping the other horses. I mean, I
Yeah.
believe that
So
100%.
that
It seems like Mustangs they have a way of finding us.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's funny, like, he's not like, because I had warm bloods, I had thoroughbreds, I had quarter horses, lots of Arabs, and, like, he was not on my radar for a horse. Like, he's not my type, but
Right?
his
You weren't looking for
mind.
them. Hmm.
No, but his mind and his emotions and his personality and how intelligent he is, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's my type.
And he really had such an ideal start to life in a lot of
Mhm.
ways by just being able to be a horse for a while. Talk to us a little bit about how you went from just a horse crazy girl to really going into being a professional in the industry.
I always knew I wanted to do something with horses.
Hmm.
Lots of people are like, "Oh, why don't you become a veterinarian?" Or, um, like, that was mostly the biggest draw for a lot of people, like, "Why don't you go the veterinary route?"
Yeah,
And
super
for
common.
me, yeah, and, like, I thought about it, but the horse's mind was more interesting to me than their body and physiology.
Mm.
How they thought, how they viewed the world, how they learned, how they perceived things, how they processed things, their emotions, their feelings, like, that was way more interesting and very, very much more of a focus for me than the outside of a horse. So, for me, I thought I kind of went more the route of equine psychology and behavior than becoming a veterinarian. So, it's like I wanted to specialize on how horses thought and
Yeah.
learned and processed the world, and wanted to dive into that more than veterinary medicine. So it's like being a equine psychologist
Yeah, no, I love
instead of
that.
being an MD.
I
So
haven't
like that
actually
was
heard that term, but that's a great one. It's definitely one we
yeah,
should
so
bring into the world of
yeah,
horses.
equine psychologist because like I was fascinated with how they thought, how their brains worked. That was what really captured me. And that's when learning about more horse behavior and really getting into more like true horsemanship as an art form. That's where I was just so obsessed with how the horse's brain worked. I just kept going and kept learning. I always knew I wanted to be doing something with horses, and their mind was what really really caused me to dive into it head first into a career. Never looked back.
What are some of the changes that occurred from that time where you're showing your Arabian, having all these problems
Mm.
till now? Like, what are some of the values and ideas and things like that that really changed within the way you worked with horses?
Everything changed. I like my entire being shifted. I went from blaming the horse for acting like a horse to realizing that I was the cause of all the horse's negative
Mm,
emotion. I went from taking the horse's behavior personally to understanding that like none of their behaviors should be taken personally. They don't even have a developed frontal lobe like we do in their mind. They're incapable of
yeah,
plotting against us.
right.
I became way more empathetic for how a horse viewed the world and how they can struggle in the world that us humans put them in. Seeing a horse as a prey animal, as Mother Nature intended them to be, and having more of an understanding of like when a horse is fearful, they're not just concerned for their safety. Like they think they're going to die. And that is why they react so in our minds abruptly or such extreme ways, and
Yeah,
us
so
humans will be like, oh,
dramatically.
you're
Yeah.
yeah, like, oh, you're this
It's a
big
piece of
brave
paper.
animal. It's a piece of paper, it's a plastic bag, it's a rustling leaf. And to them it's like it's life or death. And so
Yeah.
when you understand that, it's very hard to take it personal. It's very hard to be upset and angry with horses. It just allows you to be more present with them and to be able to actually help them through these
Hmm.
things. So I went from more of very, very traditional training to then like realizing that horses know when you are present with them and then they know when you're not. So I think Ray Hunt would say like horses know when you know and they know when you don't know. And I think that's kind of what he
Yeah.
was referring to is that presence and awareness of how the horse thinks and how the horse perceives the world, and being in tune with that, like that changed my entire life with horses. And going from just thinking the horse was acting out on purpose to then realizing the horses is behaving this way because they're trying to survive. That's it. There's no ill
It's
intent.
not
There's
deeper.
no, yeah, and it's not deeper than that. A lot of people want to try to make it deeper than that, and it overcomplicates things. And us humans get more emotional, and the poor ponies get more and more scared, and it doesn't help anybody. So, I very much went like 180 degrees, completely different direction from being a more traditional training and riding and competing,
Hmm.
to more of a focus on developing a relationship with this amazing sentient being. And also, like, say if we did wanna still compete, like, having a horse that's in the arena with you and they love it just as much as you do,
Mm,
instead of it feeling like this constant battle of the wits and it's a war between us and our horses and somebody has to win. It's like, I want me and my horses to both be winners at the end of the
yeah.
day, and that way of being with horses just, like, ew.
Yeah. And I think that's a dream that a lot of people have to, have your horse
Mhm.
on board with you, wanting to do the things that are so fun for you. So, really cool that you found a way to do that. Tell us a little bit about how that process kind of unfolded with your little gray Arabian.
So, one of the first things that in the home study program with Pearly Natural Horsemanship that I went through was they ask you to do this exercise called undemanding time. And it's super powerful. And it's something that I had never even thought of because, like,
Yeah.
I thought you catch your horse however you can,
Yeah.
throw the
You
saddle on
go and
however you
you do.
can,
Yeah.
kick him to go, pull him to stop, use the reins to turn. It's like, those are all lies as humans are told in the horse industry. It's all crap. And so the first exercise I asked you to do is a undemanding time, and that's where you just go and have no agenda with your horse. You go and sit out with them for a period of time, whether you want to be in the stall or in the paddock, wherever your horse is living. And it was massively eye-opening for me because what had happened, because this horse was hard. Her name was April. This horse was very hard to catch, very skeptical, very terrified of things.
Yeah.
And I was then at this point in time learning about that. So the undemanding time exercise, it's like they want to find out like how long does it take for your horse to approach you? How long does it take the horse to acknowledge you? How long does it take the horse to want to come up to you and touch you? And like that was kind of the basis of the exercise, is just to allow the horse to have time to approach you, acknowledge you, and see what they think of you. I sat in my mare's stall for 2 hours
Jeez.
before, and, like, when I walked in through the gate, like, she immediately walked to the opposite end of the stall, so I'm like, "Oop, dagger in the heart." She
Right?
immediately walked away.
Yeah.
Like, it hurt so, but
She hates me.
I needed to feel that, though. I needed to
Yeah.
feel that because I was now aware of how this horse really thought of me,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't wanna know how their horses think of them. For
Right.
me, it's like, I wanna know everything, and I want to help people who want to know how their horses feel about them.
Yeah.
So in this exercise, I walked into the gate. She immediately went to the opposite end of the stall and put her nose in the corner and just stood there for 2
As
hours.
far away as she could
And
get.
I just, as far as away as she could get, and I just sat there thinking like, oh my God, this horse hates me. What have I done? Like, I didn't know. And after 2 hours, she finally turned and faced me and walked up to me and wanted to touch me. And for me, like,
Mhm.
I was in tears. I was bawling my eyes out because at that point, I
Yeah.
think I was like 15, I think. I was like 14 or 15 years old when this was going
Mm.
on. It's such a big shift in life in general, you know?
Yeah.
So then to recognize that this horse, the horse is not the problem. It's me. And this horse is just scared of me and scared of the things that we're doing. So then to have that kind of feedback of when I step into my horse's realm, like their stall, their bedroom, their sacred space,
Yeah.
and the first thing they do is want to leave, like that is, it's just
It's a
feedback.
sign.
That
Yeah.
it's a sign.
Feedback, yeah.
She's trying to tell me, "You make me uncomfortable. I feel safe with you. I don't feel comfort with you. So I'm gonna go
Mhm.
stand over here as far away as I can." And
This is the safest spot.
after 2 hours of just being there, she was able to feel comfortable and safe enough to face me and approach me. And after I experienced that, like, that was such a it was an eye opener. So then my mind thought, "How can I help this mare not ever want to do that again? How
Mhm.
can I help her with every interaction I have with her? How can I help prove to her that I'm not gonna eat her? How can
Yeah.
I help prove to her that I'm not gonna scare her? I'm not going to frighten her. And if she does get frightened, I want her to know I'm here to support her and help her
Mhm.
instead of her thinking that I'm even more of a problem when she gets emotional or worried." So with that, just that simple exercise of spending undemanding time, and I coach my own students to do that, to get feedback
Yeah,
from their
so
horse and
good.
see, because it tells you like how much that horse wants to be with you, how much the horse is interested in you, how comfortable they are, how confident they are, or how scared they are, how worried they are.
Yeah,
And it
and
tells
and
you so
probably
much about the
also
horse.
gets the person out of the, like, "I gotta go and do something." Like, that is what
Yep.
you're doing, you're just observing
Yeah.
and being, and a lot of times we go in thinking, "I'm gonna do X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z today."
And that's how you get horses that are hard to catch, because
Yeah.
if you go in with an agenda every single time with your horse and you have things that you need to do, we have these training things that we must get done. The horse is very quickly going to associate us with just a ton of pressure.
Mhm.
And pressure motivates, it's a release that teaches. So when with horses, if they're with people, it's all pressure. And then they finally get a reprieve away from the human
Yeah.
when they're done with the training.
Yeah.
They're gonna think, I hate being around people.
Right?
I
No
just want to
wonder
be
they
by my
don't
friends.
wanna yeah.
No wonder they're hard to catch. No wonder they're skeptical for things. It's like, well, every time you do something, you're with your horse, you have an agenda and you have a focus of doing something. Why would they want to hang out with us? Because when you look at horses in the herd, they spend a massive amount of time just sharing space with each other, being comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
So if you don't emulate that in some way and don't help the horse want to interact with you, these behavioral problems that so many people face, that for me are very obvious to and very simple to fix,
Mm.
that people are lost because they have no idea that just their expectations are causing their horses to be like,
Yeah.
I rather not.
And I
So
think,
that
like
really
you
shifted
say, for
everything.
a lot of us, that's kind of what we're taught, you know? We're taught, like, go in
Mhm.
there, get them to do what you want. And so if you're not if you're not don't have those insights into the way that horses really are, then yeah, it's kind of this is what we're supposed to
Yeah.
do, and I don't know why it's not working.
And for so many people, they don't realize that every moment we're with our horses, like we are either building our relationship and partnership and understanding, or we're doing the opposite. Because horses are full faculty learners at birth. They pick up on patterns and learn 7 to 10 times faster than humans do. So for them, everything means something, but nothing means nothing. So how we approach them, how we halter them, how we groom them, how we saddle them, how we warm them up, how we are behave around our horses is very important to our horses. Now, that's not meant to cause people to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to do the wrong thing." It's
Yeah.
more about just being aware of where your mind is and how you're interacting with these horses instead of
Yeah.
just you see it all the time. People just throw halters on and then they just drag their horses to the cross ties and brush them and then get upset with them when they get when the horse gets like cinchy and because like the horse is trying to tell us things all
Mhm.
the time. And most people like are just unaware of how horses communicate and are unaware of the horse actually trying to voice their opinions, trying to voice their concerns. And most people, I would say they take it as disobedience or
Oh,
take it
yeah.
as
Misbehavior.
misbehaving or they're quirky. And it's like, no, your horse is trying to tell you something. And I feel personally, if people had a very basic understanding of equine behavior and psychology, the horse world would be a very different place. There'd be
Mhm.
a lot more happier horses. There'd be a lot more happier riders and humans in general.
Mhm.
Just having that simple knowledge of how the horses see us and how they learn, and how they think.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that. What are some of the most changing concepts that you think would really help people? Like if they could change their mindset to have this understanding of the horse, what are the top areas for that?
Top areas. Probably the biggest one is understanding that all horses are prey animals. Every single one, and the only difference between a horse and a squirrel is about 1,000 pounds. And a lot of people will see that and they'll kind of chuckle at it, like because
Yeah.
it's true. It's silly to think about like our big, beautiful
Yeah.
horses and the teeny tiny little squirrel, like the
Yeah.
little squirrel from Ice Age. But that's how their minds are set up, and that's how
Yeah.
Mother Nature has programmed them to live and survive. They are programmed to fly from fear and then ask questions later. They are programmed to move. So that's the biggest one. If humans, equestrians, horse lovers understood their horses as prey animals and then also understood that we are the polar opposite of that,
Yeah.
like
We're predators.
arguably, we're predators. Like arguably horses are the most advanced prey animal on earth and horses are arguably the most advanced prey animal on earth. So the fact that the two of us can have these beautiful relationships is a miracle. But
Mhm.
what it really takes is first the human must learn what is important to a horse and learn to think more like a horse. So
Mhm.
then you can show up in a way that helps the horse. So then the horse can show up for us. But we, the humans, have to be the ones to learn that first. A horse is not going to take the time to study us and be like,
Yeah.
okay, this behavior meant this and that behavior meant that. Check.
Right.
They're not going to do that. We have to do that. We have to think about like, how does this horse see the world? How will this, how will this influence my horse's behavior? And how can I help them? And having an awareness of them being a prey animal would help so many people. And so many people have like don't even realize that or they have a little bit of an understanding, but they don't really think about it at a deeper level and they
Mhm.
don't really think about like okay, yes, when a horse is afraid, they are worried for their life.
Yeah.
So then to make it easier for us humans to understand them, I would say put yourself in a situation where your life was literally in jeopardy.
Yeah. How crazy are you going to behave?
How crazy are you going to behave? Unless, so here's that big one,
Mhm.
unless you are trained for it. Like
Yeah.
we have Navy SEALs that are trained to handle high pressure situations that are very dangerous, right? They are trained to handle that. We expect our horses to operate like a Navy SEAL with zero training.
Yeah.
For our horses, like horses in the lives of humans, it's such an unnatural thing to them. It's very difficult for them. So if we do not teach our horses to have these skills, these coping mechanisms, and the big one, to trust us it's going to end badly, or people will just like you see it give mediocre results at best. You have horses that can perform, but they're not happy.
Mhm.
So I think the biggest thing that like any horse lover could do is to learn to understand the horse
Yeah.
as a horse.
And to
And
kind of
all and
start
so
seeing through their
yep.
eyes how this is being
Yes.
perceived by them.
And then the second area I would put there too, 'cause you said that like what are a few areas of it. The second one is
Mhm.
like learning how horses should be living, like species specific habitats. Horses are not designed to live in 12 by 12 stalls. They are not designed to live like separated from other horses. They are designed to live in a herd. They are designed to socialize. They're also designed to move like up to 20 miles a day. Like that's not galloping 20 miles a day, but their bodies are meant to move.
Yeah.
So I've also seen a ton, like a lot of like ill behaviors and stable vices, like those are all man-made. All of them. Like horses do not do those behaviors out in the wild, and they don't do those behaviors when they live in a more natural environment that's conducive to how a horse thinks and lives. So understanding a horse, as a prey animal, that would be number one. Number two would be people understanding how horses should be living as
Yeah.
horses. With those two things, we'd have way less injuries. We'd have a lot more happy
A lot of
ponies. We wouldn't
changes.
have there'd be a ton of changes. The people like don't realize you don't have to have thousands and thousands of acres to have a horse be happy and healthy and like their needs met. It doesn't need to be like they don't need to be living out 24/7. But there are simple things that like more traditional boarding facilities can do to help emulate horses being like out and about more often.
Yeah.
So there's lots of simple things that people can do that have their horses kept in a more traditional space to help the horse cope with living there. So those I think those are probably the two things. Understanding a horse as a
Yeah.
prey animal and then allowing horses to live in a way that they're designed to live.
Yeah, I think you're right. Those eliminate a lot of the frustrations we have if we do what we can
Mhm.
in those two areas.
Yeah.
What are some of with your Arabian? What so you took the time to kind of spend time with her. What are some other things you implemented that really made because she had a pretty drastic transformation from, surviving with her to really thriving is what it sounds like. What are some other
Mhm.
changes you made and things you implemented or learned?
Yeah. So the biggest one was not blaming her for being scared. That was a big one. Not blaming her for her behavior. Other things were like learning to retreat when she was worried instead of thinking that flooding the horse is going to
Pushing
cause
it.
them to be more
Mhm.
comfortable and confident. When you push a horse over their fear threshold, like a few things happen. One, you either get a big blow up and come apart, or the horse shuts down. And a lot of people in the horse world will view a shut down horse and say, "Oh, that's a bomb-proof horse. He's
Mhm.
so calm." It's like, "No, that is a bomb waiting to go off."
Yeah.
Because what happens is
Just
people
sitting there
flood
building
the
up.
horses they flood horses with all of the stimulus, and then they think that they're doing a really good thing for the horse because the horse finally stops and stands still.
Yeah.
If you only get the horse to that space mentally and emotionally, we are teaching horses to just hide and tolerate the stimulus around them and just shut down instead of what I want horses to be is like, "Oh, human, why are you doing these weird things around me? That doesn't scare me. You're just weird." You have
Yeah.
to help a horse get to that space mentally. And a lot of people misread a shut down horse and think it's a calm, quiet horse. And those are the same horses that out of nowhere, for no reason at all, nothing happened, the horse exploded.
Mhm.
And it's like that was building for months and you
Yeah.
didn't see it. So learning to back off, learning to like a big thing that helped me was realizing that I didn't have to flood my like if I wanted my horse, so I'll give it just an example. If I wanted her to be comfortable with like a stock whip cracking and her like, oh, okay, that doesn't mean anything. It's just a silly noise. You don't start right next to the horse cracking the stock whip and say,
Yeah.
deal with it, right? No.
Yeah.
Like you help them. You find something that might make a similar noise, but might be less noisy, and you make the noise while you're walking away from your horse and allow her to follow you when you're making that silly ruckus. Because for horses, it's very hard to be terrified of something that is retreating away.
Hmm.
So, like, learning how to help a horse, like, understand the life in Humansville and
Yeah.
understanding that you can do things in stages. It doesn't need to be like this big emotional come apart helping a horse understand something. You can have the big goal of, okay, I want my horse okay with the tarp or okay with the stock whip making noise or even gunfire. But you don't start there. You
Yeah.
start with teeny tiny little steps, like understanding that the process of developing a very confident horse does not look like the end result. But people try to go to the end result thinking like that's how I'm going to teach my horse. It's like that's like all those beautiful spectacular things that people see, like that's like the icing on the cake. That's
Oh
not how
yeah.
you start. That's not how
Yeah.
you start. So that was probably a biggest one of the bigger things I realized with my training and shifting of my principles when it came to training and developing horses was like understanding like there are little steps that you can take to help the horse feel successful very quickly. And then also what I've learned about like teaching people, because teaching horses and teaching people are two very different things.
Yeah. Yes.
And like after
People
like
are
I've
much more
been teaching,
complicated.
yes, people are much more complicated. And like after teaching for close to 2 decades professionally now, it's when you help a human understand that you can do all of these little steps to get to this big goal, all of a sudden the human has something to do and then the horse is not terrified anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, because we want to be doing something. We're to be feeling like we're making
Mhm,
progress.
mhm.
Talk some more about mindset. You mentioned that a couple times, how a lot of the changes you had were just the thoughts you were having, just the way you were looking at it. Talk a little bit more about how can we develop a good positive mindset to be working with our horses that is going to benefit them and ultimately us.
It takes practice. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of practice. It takes a lot of experience. Honestly, it takes making mistakes, and that's okay. Like a lot of people think if I make a mistake, I'm gonna ruin everything. It's like, no, you're
Yeah.
just gonna get feedback.
I
You're
mean,
gonna
and
get
you hear
feedback.
that all the time with horses. Like, you can't get off if your horse is misbehaving. Then they learn that,
Mhm.
if they
Yep.
misbehave, they can get you off. That I think is a really big myth in the horse world is like, I don't think they hold
100%.
on to stuff quite as much as we do.
Uh-uh. Yeah, and it's like you talk to any like professional cult starter, like because I started horses for the public for years and I still do, and I have lost count of how many times, like on a first ride or first few rides, how many times I will step off and help the horse understand something and then step back on. There is nothing wrong with that, and people think like, oh, you let the horse win. It's like, first of all, I choose life. Like like
Yeah. I
I don't
know,
wanna go
seriously.
soaring through the air. And, like, there are amazing horse developers that can ride through emotions better than some, and it's
Yeah.
easy for them to continue to help the horse while they're riding. That's
Yeah.
fine. But for me, like, I'm gonna step off, help the
I'd be
horse
the same.
understand it again, and then step back on. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's another thing I'd love for people to get out from this conversation that we're having is like there is no shame at all if you step off your horse to fix something to help them, or if you step off because you feel your emotions
Yeah,
are
because you're
going
not in a
flying
good
off the
place.
roof. If you are not in a good space, the horse is not going to be in a good space. Now there are situations where it might be a safety hazard to step off. Those are
Yeah.
different situations, like if you're riding on a trail and you're on a big
Yeah.
switchback and
Don't
there's a
step
cliff to
off
your
on
left,
the
like
side of a
okay,
cliff.
don't step up, right? Like there, or you're working cattle, or there's something going on where stepping
Yeah.
off would cause you to be in a more dangerous situation. We're not talking about those. What
Mhm.
we are talking about is like just regular everyday situations. Maybe your horse spooks, gets a little on adrenaline. There is nothing wrong with stepping off, checking your own pulse, like calming yourself
Yeah.
down,
Regulating
and then get
yourself for a minute.
Mhm. Yep, and then making sure you can help your horse regulate their own emotions at the same time. And that's okay. You can do that on the ground and then step back on. So, yeah, like I'm glad you mentioned that, like, because it's such a silly thing. Like, oh, you step off, you let them win. It's like, well, first of
Yeah.
all, I want my horse to be a winner.
And we use that language, I think, in a lot of things, whether it's leading them, you can't do this, or they have
Yeah.
won, quote unquote. And yeah, I think that's one mindset shift that you can really make is we're not in a
Mhm.
competition here. We're not against each
No.
other. I think if you really want
Yeah.
that relationship with your horse, you're wanting to work together. You're wanting to be a
Yeah.
team. And so
Yes.
even just changing that language and that perspective that we have can
Mhm.
be a really good mindset shift.
100%. Like changing the way we talk about our horses. Like for me, it's like I often will say like I play with horses. I train
Yeah.
people, but I
Yeah.
play with horses and
I love
I
that.
work on my I work on myself.
Yeah.
Like the moment like I want my horse to be able to do hard things. I want my horse to be able to operate at a world-class level. But that will come with like actually developing a horse who enjoys the things that you're doing together.
Mhm.
And you have to start with that because like the performance stuff comes and it gets so much easier when the horse is in it with you compared to like managing a terrified prey animal. Like the people that are just managing the terrified prey animals, like they're not gonna compete as well. They're not gonna win as well. Like they might get things done, but the horse is not gonna be enjoying themselves. And
Yeah.
what I want is that for horses and humans to be like enjoying the things that they're doing
Yeah.
together,
And
whether
probably
you're
not the
competing
human
or
either when
not.
you're
Yeah.
in that relationship.
Yeah, so big mindset shifts are like how we speak to our horses, how we speak to ourselves matters a lot. If we're constantly showing up with self-doubt and self-criticism, like our horses their minds are not capable of understanding those very very complex emotions. But if we show up and we're constantly in our minds and we're angry at ourselves or frustrated with ourselves, all that's going to do is come off as pressure to a horse
Yeah, they can definitely
and
sense
they're
that energy
repelled
that
by
we're
it.
bringing in. Even though they may not understand the thoughts that are behind it, they certainly understand when we were going in and just
Yeah.
being frazzled or upset.
Yep. It doesn't feel good to them at all.
Right.
And so they want to get away from it. And that is a perfect example of like why horses are used for emotional like equine assisted psychotherapy. It's like it
Hmm.
gets people to be more aware of what they're doing and how they feel because you have the horse as a mirror right there. And for all of us like horse lovers and equestrians who like and horsemen who get to be around horse all the time, I think a lot of us take that for granted how the horse is our mirror all the time
Oh,
and
for
can
sure.
help us emotionally
Hmm.
regulate. And for me it's like I don't know what I would do if I didn't have that. Like I must have horses
Yeah.
in my life.
Right. You're either going to need a horse or a live-in therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Talk a little bit about competition and having a relationship with your horse. Like, can you do both and how do you do both? Because a lot of times it is like
100%.
we want to accomplish something. How do you do that and have a relationship with your horse?
Yeah. So 100% you can do both. There is a misconception. And I think, and I don't know if it's because like the world and realm of like natural horsemanship versus normal or traditional horsemanship came to be. I think that is nonsense. I think there is good horsemanship and then not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. End of discussion. So
Yeah.
you can compete and develop an amazing relationship with your horse. You can do those beautiful, spectacular things. Like you can go compete in dressage. You can go be a roper. You can go do barrel racing. You can go do reining. Like you can do all these beautiful, fun things with your horse and still develop a relationship. People think it's either one or the other, and it's not. The ones who are winning millions and millions and championships after championships after championships over again are people who take the time to build a relationship with their horses because they like competing is easier for them because the horse is in it with them. So, how you do that is through your everyday interactions with your horses. You don't sacrifice your relationship for a blue ribbon. You don't push the horse over what they're capable of doing just for the sake of price money. You take care of the horse's needs at all times. And then the competition is just something that you get to do together. So for me, like, because I coach a lot of eventers, I coach a lot of ropers, I coach a lot of people that are in the performance realm.
Hmm.
And for me, our coaching isn't necessarily about like how they come to be, not for like the get more skilled on the maneuvers or get more skilled on the tasks needed to be done for the competition. What I help them do is like how is get them to think more like their horse does. To say it's like, how can I help my horse enjoy jumping? How can I help my horse enjoy the slide stop? How can I help my horse enjoy the things I'm asking them to do? So that's how you can like really help people get in a better, I would say better just mindset when it comes to competing. And for me, it's like no title, no championship, no ribbon, no prize money, no piece of equipment is more important than the relationship that I have with my horse. And if you
Mhm.
keep it like that, if your horse has a like they're in a class and they get scared and they get emotional, you're not going to blame the horse. It's like, "Oh, okay, no big deal. We got a little scared in that class,
Yeah.
but I, the human, took care of my horse." And that goes a heck
Mm.
of a long way
Yeah.
with our horses. And then it also allows horses to like have a longer show career. Could you imagine horses that don't get fried, right? Like you get horses that don't get fried on being in the arena or because they still enjoy being in there. So you can 100% be very competitive and have a very healthy relationship with your horse. But the way you do it is the relationship has to be first, even when you are competing.
Yeah. And I like the way you put that because as the human, we are kind of the guide. We are the one responsible. We're the one in charge. The
Mhm.
horse is really just like getting drug along whatever we decide to do in life. So it really is our responsibility to be the one that's taking responsibility for making the changes that we need because the horse really doesn't even have that capability
Yeah.
because of the way life is.
Yeah. And honestly, they shouldn't have to.
Hmm.
Like they shouldn't have to like people will say like buck up buttercup. It's like, no,
Yeah.
horses are perfect until humans show up. So it is our responsibility to learn how to behave around them, to learn what's
Hmm.
important to them. So then we can help them thrive in the lives we put them in.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about some of the things we can do to help our horses kind of enjoy our interactions, their interactions with us, whether that's, going on a trail ride or, working towards some type of competition.
The biggest thing to help our horses enjoy their time with us is communicating with them in a way that they understand. So then there's no surprises. Like they know what to expect from us because we're communicating with them in a way that they communicate with their herd mates. So being consistent in how you speak to your horse because like horses don't communicate verbally like we do.
Right, never
They
with
are
words. Yeah.
very yeah, right? And they can understand a few words, but that's not how they communicate.
Yeah.
They communicate through energy, intention, body language, focus. Like that's how horses communicate with each other. So if you have a better awareness of how to do that, life can be way more simple with your horse. Like going from the basic task of catching your horse to performing flying like tempi flying lead changes. If you know how to communicate with the horse in a way that they understand, everything can go smoothly. And it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect because that's the same
Yeah.
thing like with our human relationships. They take time, they take dedication. Like healthy relationships with our spouses, with our friends, with our family, with our coworkers. It's like, it takes work, but when you do the work, it allows us to have these beautiful partnerships, and it's the same thing with our horses.
Yeah. And so what might that look like? Say someone has a horse they want a barrel race and they take them out and it's just not meshing, it's not working. What might you tell someone in that position? What do they need to do? What changes do they need to make?
So it depends on what is not meshing, like what part of
Mhm.
it isn't meshing. Like, is it the horse is getting emotional coming off the horse trailer? Is the horse emotional just approaching the first barrel? Is the horse getting upset at the alleyway and they're struggling with that? So it would depend on what specific thing is the horse concerned with and what are they struggling with. So then when you find the specific thing that the horse is struggling with, you then can say, how can I simulate that at home? How can I help my horse feel this similar thing in a controlled environment so then I can help my horse build their confidence and build their understanding at home. So then when I go and compete again, it's not a surprise to the horse. So a lot of it is just more consistency, more prep. And a lot of the times, like it's all in the setup. How can you set the horse up for success prior to the competition? And that is where like that's where champions are made. It's all in the setup prior to the actual like goal that they're working towards or the event that
Yeah.
they're actually at. So what that requires, I would say, is more self-awareness out of us. Because notice when you said like, okay, say they're having a hard time and I'm like, well, what part are they having a hard time with? So it's like what really specific thing is the
Yeah.
horse and human struggling with? Also, like going taking a step back and working on the foundation of your horse's understanding will solve most of those problems because you can help the horse like understand that you're there to help them. You are there to
Mhm.
guide them. You're not there to torture them. You're not there to terrify them. You are there as a helper and as a leader. We have to teach our horses and show our horses and prove to our horses that we are their safe space wherever we go. So that it requires a heck of a lot more work out of us
Yeah.
compared to the horse.
Right. Yeah, and I love that too because a lot of times we don't look for help or kind of start
Mhm.
troubleshooting until something bad has happened, until it's
Yep.
gotten to the point where we've blown through the threshold for a horse.
Mhm.
So I do think
Yep.
that's really
And
key
that's
to, like, where's it starting? Step
yeah, where
back
is it starting?
to the very basics. Yeah.
And that's usually when people find me is they've went to multiple trainers, multiple coaches, the horse has been through multiple trainers, they've tried multiple things. And then like I tend to be, and it breaks my heart a little bit, but I tend to be a lot of people's last resort for the
Yeah.
horse. When in reality, this should have been the first step. And
Mm.
the first step is learning how horses communicate, learning how horses think, and then creating a language and creating a foundation of understanding that both horse and human can understand together. And I feel that if people had a more solid foundation and the horses had a more, because a lot of times when you see horses struggling, the horse is just not educated enough to handle what's being presented to them. They have no life skills. Nobody's taught
Mm.
them. Nobody's shown them,
Yeah.
because most people do not know how to teach a horse to have these like coping mechanisms and be able to be brave in the world that we put them in. But
Hmm.
every horse can be taught that. Every human can be taught that. Everything that I teach, like it's nothing special. Like this is arcane knowledge that I am sharing when it comes to horse training and horse development. This has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. Like Xenophon wrote about it like very long time ago.
Yeah. It's not
But somewhere
breaking.
along no, like somewhere along the way us humans I feel lost it, or competing and money became more important than the horse.
Yeah.
So yeah, like people just learning how to understand their ponies would make life a heck of a lot easier for everybody.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more about like mistakes, failures, how we can use those instead of letting them defeat us or think we just ruined our horse. How can we
Mhm.
kind of embrace those and use those for our benefit?
Yeah. Failure is part of success. You don't get success without failure. And a lot of times people think like if I fail at something, it means all these terrible things and it needs to have all this negative connotation behind it. It doesn't. If you are failing, you're trying. So at least you're moving forward, and you must fail a ton in order to learn how to do things, in order to learn like to have good feel. You know how many rope burns you have to get in order for you to learn to be able to like, "Oh, I need to open my hand."
Yeah.
And like if we viewed it as that, it's like failure is just part of success. Failure is part of the journey. And there's no such thing as perfection. Like the focus should be progress with our horses and building them up and building ourselves up together as partners. So like
Yeah.
handling that, it's like how you handle failure like is like how you're going to handle the rest of your life. Like we all fail, and a lot of people think like great horse trainers and horsemen and phenomenal equestrians, like they don't run into those hard things. It's like, yes, they do. And what made them great is that they kept going. They picked themselves up, they tried again. They didn't blame the horse. They didn't blame themselves too terribly, and they moved forward through it. So like and I tell my students, it's like the only reason I know the things that I do, the only reason I am as skilled as I am is because I made a ton of mistakes and I
Yeah.
failed more than most other people, and continuing to move
Still kept
forward
at it.
through that is what allows me to have this career, allows me to help horses, allows me to help more people. So looking at failure as like that's just part of it. That's just part of it, and there's nothing wrong, there's
Expect
nothing
it.
bad about it. Yeah, expect it and then keep going. And then keep going, because it doesn't last forever. And that honestly is the best way to continue to make progress, is to like fail often and keep going.
Yeah. And I think that goes along too with how you're saying if we understand the horse, um, part of that is understanding like they're not holding stuff against us. They're not like
Mm-mm.
us humans sometimes are. They're really just observing and learning as each new interaction takes place.
Oh, yeah, and they are so forgiving, like, they do not you're totally right, like, they don't hang on to things the way us humans do, like, they could remember things, of course, but they're not sitting there dwelling on, like, "Oh, your timing was a little off here. Be
Yeah.
better about that." Like, and there are some more sensitive horses that will not tolerate things, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
they're not forgiving, like, if we like, especially the more sensitive horses, it's like they challenge us to be better with our timing. They challenge us to be better with our feel. They
Yeah.
challenge us to be better with our focus. They it's like when people have horses that they feel are challenging to them, it's like that horse was put into your life to teach you something.
Yeah, 100%. And I think those sensitive ones, those are the ones that are really easy to communicate with if you start taking that
Mhm.
as communication because they're very quick
Yes.
to let you know how they're feeling and what's going on in their space. Yeah, there are like big lessons you've learned that before we kind of wrap up that you would want
Mhm.
people to know. Like if I could share with people that are struggling with their horses or new to
Mhm.
horsemanship, anything like that.
Like biggest takeaways I'd love people to have, honestly, is it's about the relationship that we have with these amazing horses, and if we first learned how horses communicate, how they view the world, how they learn, how they view us, if we would just take a moment to walk in our horse's horseshoes, that would change a lot of us for the better, and being able to understand a horse to where it's like it's hard for you to take it personal. It's hard for you to get upset or emotional or angry at a horse behaving in a way Mother Nature intended them to behave.
Yeah. And how did that kind of play out for you with your little Arabian? You told us a lot about the changes that happened with her.
Mhm.
Once you were able to kind of step back, focus on relationships, kind of see, have a better understanding of why she was reacting, what did that
Mhm.
change like for you internally?
Oh my gosh, I changed as a human. Like I realized a lot of stuff. It wasn't about like it was never her fault. So then learning that she was not the problem, that I was a really big, like, relief because it's like, I can change. Like, when you
Yeah,
realize, like, "Oh, okay, I'm the problem. Okay, I can do something about this. I can be empowered and
it's
change
within your
behaviors. I can
control.
learn skills. It is within my control to change." Instead of feeling powerless to my horse's emotions and behaviors and not knowing how to help, like,
Yeah,
once I knew that I'm like, "Ooh, I am the one causing all of this hullabaloo, all of all of this big emotional outburst that my horse is having." I could then, like, take steps to change things. And for me, it was very empowering, and I feel like for some, it could be very daunting to learn, like, "Oh, I'm the problem." But the
yeah,
thing is, like, once you know that, you can do something about it, and that's what really changed me was, going from, a very competitive jumper, very competitive rider to then, like, still keeping that competitive edge, but now it's more I'm competitive with how fast can I help this horse trust me? How fast can I help this horse feel safe? How fast can I help this horse want to do these things with me? And so that's where my competition mind shifted to is that instead of winning, it's like, how can I help this horse feel like a winner very quickly?
yeah. And I like how you really put that recognizing that it's us puts it within our control. You know, we might say
Mhm.
like you're the problem and it is stuff that we need to change, but if we can look at that, like it can be hard to take in to realize like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
shoot, it is me, you know, I am the
Huh?
one creating this and doing this. And it's such a lesson for life too,
Oh yeah.
just that we have control over ourselves. And the way that we take that and accept that can really alter our interactions with the world around us and with our horses.
And a lot of us like will take the things that our horses are doing and take it very, very personally instead of it just like this is just feedback.
Yeah, just
And I could
information.
move it is just information and I can move forward with it instead of holding on to it and taking it
Yeah.
personally, and that
Is it
that
saying
doesn't help
something about
anybody.
who we are as a person? Yeah. When it's something that we can change if we want to.
Yes, 100%, and I feel that that reason alone, like, the people being called out for how they're behaving, how they're feeling even, and, like, how they're thinking,
Yeah.
it's not for everybody. Like, not everyone wants to know what their horse is thinking of them. Not everyone wants to do the internal work of becoming more self-aware so then we can
Yeah.
show up in a healthier way for our horses. And I've had to allow that for some people because like if you're not willing to take a deep dive into who you are as a
Yeah.
person so then you can be the leader for your horse and safe space for your horse, I'm not the instructor for you. And I think that's like there's just people that this just it doesn't resonate with them. They don't
Yeah.
want to know it. And it's like, well,
Can
those
be
aren't my
hard.
people and that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Can be hard to take it in that like, oh, you got some work to do.
Got some
Yeah.
work to do. But the thing is, like when you tell somebody who is seeking to be better, but just doesn't know how and doesn't know that they're the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and you say it, and for me, it's like as a clinician and as a professional instructor, it's like I always deliver news with kindness and with love as much as possible because that is why I'm calling out people. Not
Yeah.
like there's a lot of instructors that will make people cry. There's lots of instructors that will belittle them for not knowing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how are you like if you don't know, you don't know. And you
Yeah.
can't be upset with somebody who doesn't know. Just like we can't be upset with our horses who don't understand yet. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing like with teaching people. It's like someone who is seeking to be better for themselves and their horses, and you tell them, like, "Hey, it's actually you," and they're like, "Well, thank God, because I can do something
Yeah.
about that. It's me."
Yeah.
And those are the people that I resonate with, and those are my students because they're looking to be better for their horses, but just no one showed them how a horse perceived them.
Yeah.
And then
And what
once
a
you have
beautiful
that,
approach. Yeah, that is because I do think that there is a lot of shame throwing in the horse
oh
industry
yeah, I
where
got it
where
all the
people
time.
do feel like, yeah, I know I'm still kind
Mhm.
of scared of horse people to be honest.
Yeah. It get like, cause I think of, like, how many times I bawled my eyes out for being wrong in front of an instructor, or how many times I
Yeah.
was belittled, or how many times like and for me, it's like, why do people pay instructors to make them feel like garbage? It's like, that's not what it should feel like. You
Yeah.
should
I
feel
mean, you're
empowered.
going
You
there
should
to
feel
get knowledge,
mhm.
to learn what you
Yeah,
don't
and
learn,
it's
like you say.
yeah. And it's different when you yourself have an emotional reaction because you're like, okay, I'm processing it. It's a lot to deal with. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. But the instructors that go out of their way to belittle somebody, make fun of them, shame them for not knowing, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think they should have a freaking microphone. Like, I don't think they should have any,
Yeah.
like, they have no business teaching people because they're not actually a teacher.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I've noticed too in the horse world is like there's amazing horsemen out there, amazing equestrians, but they're not teachers. They're not
Yeah.
great instructors. They can do great things with their horses, but they're not great at communicating it to other humans so they can then understand how to do that. And that's
Yeah.
what I pride myself on is like like I try my hardest to be able to explain things so that eventually my students don't need me. I want them to just check in with
Yeah.
me when they're doing really cool stuff or something
Yeah.
weird pops up that they've never seen before. But for me, it's like I want to empower horse people to be able to solve their own problems, to be able to help their horse through things
Yeah.
and like be able to be a partner that the horse needs.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I think a lot of us are, there is so much criticism within the horse world because we are so critical
Mhm.
of ourselves and we're all kind of,
Yeah.
I think, hoping like, I hope I'm doing this okay. A lot of us,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
and maybe don't have that confidence and that understanding because it's like, I'm told to do this thing, but it doesn't really
Mhm.
feel good. And
Yeah.
so a lot of that
I would
insecurity kind of reflects
yeah.
out to the horse world, I feel like.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, and I would also like to just piggyback on that, like that feeling like, "Oh, this doesn't feel right." I would challenge more horse lovers to follow that. It's like, why doesn't it feel right? Like follow that. Like there's a reason it doesn't feel right. It does it not feel right because you don't understand what's going on, or does it not feel right because it's genuinely problematic to the horse? And like learning
Yeah.
how to decipher that is a journey all on its own too.
For sure. There's real value to listening to our intuition, to
Oh
listening
yeah.
to like, this doesn't feel like the way I thought it should. And it's hard to step back because our world's really noisy. But if we can step back and be in that quiet space, and probably something you even experience when you're sitting there waiting for your mare to come to you, when we can kind of step back, it gives us a lot of insight if we can go to that quiet place and start listening instead of like talking, being loud, doing.
And then I tell all my students that, like, at the end of the day, the horse is going to tell you what's going to work for them and what's not. And that's why for me it's like I don't hang on to any specific techniques. I don't hang on to any specific tack. Like I have a very very strong principles when it comes to teaching and developing and educating horses and humans. But I have no there's no real rules, because the moment
Mm,
you make a hard, fast rule, like, "I will never do this," or "I'll never try that," or "I'll never use this,"
mm,
you will meet a horse that requires you to break that rule to help them. So
yeah.
it's like if we leave it more up to, like, the horse will tell me what's gonna help them, not gonna help them. The horse will tell you, and if you leave it to them, it takes a little bit more pressure off of us as horse lovers to be like, "Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing? Or is that the right thing?"
Yeah.
Your
Or I
horse is
wasn't
gonna tell
supposed to
you.
do that.
Yeah, was I not supposed to do that? Did I escalate my phases too quickly? Did I not do enough? Like, your horse is
Hmm.
gonna tell you. So then teaching people how to recognize when the horse is telling them that it's working helps so much.
Yeah. What are some of those signs that either something is or isn't working that you would tell
Yeah.
people to look for?
So horse is getting calmer, horse is getting more connected, horse is getting it depends on the horse is getting more motivated. So like with a horse who's more introverted, who lacks go, if you can help that horse find forwards, like great, you're making progress. Or you're playing with a horse who's very disinterested and disconnected. When you finally cause them to connect with you, great, you're making progress. So again, it leads back to understanding horse behavior, understanding what their expressions mean, understanding the feedback that we're giving them. Like that allows people to interpret the behavior that they're seeing in front of them to be like, okay, I'm on the right track, or ooh, I need to back off a little bit.
That's interesting. And that's such a switch because a lot of stuff that we're taught to traditionally do is like get the horse hyped up as fast as you can, instead of
Mm.
like, no, we're looking for calm and connection between us.
Mhm.
So that is a really good switch to instead of focus on the task you're doing, focus on the interactions that are occurring.
Yep, because the basic everyday interactions we have are the stepping stones and building blocks to the more advanced maneuvers. Like to in order to get a really clean like flying change or a nice pivot on the haunches, like you have to have understanding and good feel for your horse to be able to do that. And a horse has a smile on his face while he's doing it, instead of dreading it or feeling like you're trapping them or forcing them.
Yeah.
It's like it should feel like a dance together.
Mm,
And there are moments in time where, like, think of yourself if you were learning a new dance. Like
yeah.
sometimes we have two left feet, we're going to be uncoordinated and it's going to be like,
Right.
ooh, a little sticky or a little weird. When you're in those sticky, messy parts, that doesn't necessarily anything wrong is happening. And to help people understand that, the better they understand horse behavior, the better they'll be able to navigate those messy parts, or the parts where the horse is struggling or the human is struggling. If you understand you understand your horse's behavior through those things, it becomes less stressful because you're like, "Oh, okay, I know how to help my pony. They're just worried about this thing. That's how I can help them, or I
Yeah.
need to back off, or I need to ask for more." But all of that is only possible when the human has more of an understanding of the horse.
Yeah. So tell us where people can find you to be able to work with you, take advantage of your knowledge and information, support you, follow
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, so if people want to learn from me directly, they can go to our website. It's thesavvyequestrian.com, and it's an online membership for horse lovers where you get access to me as your instructor. We've created it to be as close as in-person instruction as possible. So if somebody's looking for like a supportive community, looking for like video examples of playing and helping more challenging, difficult horses, untamed horses, untrained horses. There's a lot of Mustangs in there too in our
Nice.
in our video footage to help horse lovers, because we believe in, like, I want to share the stuff that could be hard for some people to watch. Now, not hard for people like abusive, but more like
Hmm.
you're gonna watch an emotional horse figure out a puzzle and come to the other side of that. Because a lot of trainers don't show that. They show everything with a finished horse. It's
Right.
like
The
I
nice,
show
pretty
things,
finished product. Awesome.
and
Yeah.
it's yeah, so and we show the stages of development for a horse. So that's a great space for people to get help and support, is the
Hmm.
membership. I also do a one-on-one remote mentorship where people can send in videos to me and I give them critiques and help them like create lesson plans with their horses, and they talk to me every single week, and then we have a mastermind of like-minded horsemen that meet every single week. Because for me, like, my horsemanship journey at times felt very, very lonely because I
Yeah.
didn't have other people that were going through the same thing. Like, all of my horsey friends that I had at the time were very competitive, and they were showing, and they weren't focusing on the relationship with their horses. And I
Yeah.
was a weird outlier who wanted to still compete, but I wanted my pony to like me. So
Mhm.
it was very, very lonely. So having a spot, a community where
Oh,
you
yeah.
can talk about horsemanship, talk about equine behavior, and not be looked at like you're a lunatic, that's really nice. I also travel all over the country for clinics and workshops and in-person training. We're located in Ennis, Montana. So that's home base now. And we're going to be opening up a study center here for horse lovers to come and spend time with me, have clinics here, and like week-long horsemanship retreats and all of that. So probably our website is the best place to see us, is the savvyequestrian.com. And then you could, like, I'm on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel that has really cool videos that are helpful for horse lovers. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, X, and all of the things. You'll
Everywhere.
find us. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I
Yeah.
love the work you do. It's great to have other voices out there that are like saying it's okay to want a relationship with your horse. You
Yeah.
can have a relationship and you can accomplish really fun, exciting things with your horse.
Hmm. Yep.
It's great to have, people out there who are speaking when it's like, I don't really feel great about the way that I was taught, that are
Hmm.
showing you another way that's also effective and successful. And so I really appreciate that you're putting your voice out there and you're offering these opportunities to people. I think you're a great resource for people to lean on. And
Thank
I don't
you.
think there can be enough said for like having
Yeah.
a good mentor that can guide you in a way that you feel good
Hmm.
about. That was a huge thing for me, is like I'd see all these things and I'm like, I don't feel great about doing it that way. So when I found someone else that was like, you don't have to, like, that was
Hmm.
huge for me. So
Yeah. You don't have to
love that
make your
you're
horse do
available.
things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can develop real partnerships to where it feels like you guys are dancing. And my goal for my students is, like, you don't know where you end and your horse begins. And you're just
Yeah.
one beautiful, like, connected being together. And like true harmony, that's the goal. And that's the goal with, like, regardless of your discipline, regardless if you have competition goals, true harmony with these amazing sentient beings is the goal. And then that's what I teach
Yeah.
people to do.
And what an incredible experience. And like you say, there's going to be sticky spots along the way. It's not an easy, smooth journey, but it's one that has a really, really cool payoff if you are
Oh
willing to
yeah.
do the work to get there. So that's incredible.
Yep.
Well,
Cool.
thank you so
Well,
much
thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.